Another day, another journalist being mad that companies aren't doing exactly what they view as stunning and brave, and now a writer at Polygon is complaining about Mobile Suit Gundam, which from Mercury, saying Bandai Namco is censoring a queer relationship simply because they wanted to leave it up to viewer interpretation. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media so you can see when my content is posted, and of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and live streams that I create, consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. Now, this, again, is a Polygon article, and, it has gotten quite a bit of traction online. I know that I put up a tweet that did pretty good, 1,700 likes, but headed on over to the article itself, it says, Mobile Suit Gundam, the Witch from Mercury owners walk back on queer representation. This is rich, coming from journalists on a site that are constantly just attacking fans of anime, of fan service, of video games, saying things like, oh, you know what, when you guys talk about censorship, you're all just whining and groaning and complaining about it, but now that they're talking about censorship, they expect us to line up and, oh my god, this is so terrible, and defend the content that they want. Now, of course, I am not for censorship at all. I am not sitting here saying that I'm gonna, just to stick it to them, I'm gonna say this censorship is good, but this isn't censorship at all. That's the problem, is that now they are crying about censorship when it actually isn't. It says, though, The Witch from Mercury is a mecha anime that follows a Gundam pilot named Soletta Mercury, who attends an ultra-elite military school for mecha pilots and mechanics. In the early episodes of the show, she defeats one of her classmates in a fight and wins the hand of a girl named Maureen Rembrandt in marriage. The show follows the two as Soletta fights to keep her hand in marriage and navigates the internal politics of the school. Now, of course, it says, since its release in 2022, fans have heralded The Witch from Mercury as a new touchstone in the LGBTQ plus anime. The anime's popularity led to widespread acclaim and has broken records for a Gundam franchise. To many fans, the show clearly depicted a sapphic love story, but a new statement from showrunners has called the queer representation into question. Now, you would think that they came out and said, wow, we never meant for it to be this way. This content is being removed. The way that they're talking about this, like it is going to be completely erased, is absurd, because that's just not happening at all. And I've got to be honest, this is actually a pretty good series, and a major plot point here is, yes, these two characters are engaged, but it's just a plot device and not an actual romantic encounter, which is what the people that are angry about it wanted. The show doesn't contain some profound LGBT messaging. They were engaged for political reasons, and of course you can write fanfiction all day and in your head imagine that they formed a romantic relationship after the fact, but they do not form a sexual or romantic relationship in the series at all. Soletta actually has a romantic interest in Alon, so that goes against any sort of queer relationship they'd have. I personally viewed Soletta and Maureen's relationship as more of a sister one, where they grew closer emotionally but never crossed into that different type of romantic atmosphere with each other. And Maureen was just an angry person. She just didn't have interest in really anyone, which is pretty important to their story. She clearly calculated the plot at the start to marry Soletta so she could get out of the arranged marriage that she was being pushed into. It's just so convenient, though, that these people are leaving out all of these extremely important details that nowhere in this series was there actually, an LGBT relationship. Yes, they are engaged, but again, it's for political reasons, and these two characters, in my opinion, grew close, but not in a romantic way, which is why I think that it's honestly great that, Bandai Namco is coming out and saying, it's really up to the interpretation of each individual viewer. I do not mind that, and these people should not mind that, because they're not coming out and saying you can't imagine them in this way, you can't think of them this way, you can't write a fan fiction on them this way. That's not the case at all whatsoever, and nowhere did they say that they are censoring this or that they're removing specific aspects of it. They're not talking about anything like that. Journalists like this, right? These people mentalities is, it's okay if you imagine Link being gay, but if you interpret these characters as not being in a relationship and the creators say it's up for interpretation, that's evil and you're an is. That is why I do not like these journalists, because they are coming out and basically just attacking the creative, saying, no, you don't understand the content you created. It's actually this way. They actually are in a relationship and in love. That's just not what happened here. And again, this all stemmed from one single interview. That's it. That's all that they have. We're not talking about like edited content in the actual series itself. We are simply talking about one word being removed from a digital version of an article, from an interview. These people are absolutely crazy, and I actually put up a tweet on this saying, journos are crying censorship. This is why I call out censorship, because it always circles back to your favorite franchises and screws you over. And again, this situation is not censorship, but they are coming out and crying about censorship when they constantly attack us for saying, oh, this game is censored, and then they'll turn around and say, well, you guys don't deserve this content. This content shouldn't exist. It's okay that it's censored. When they feel that something that they love is going to be censored, that's when they start freaking out. But when it's just something in general, even a franchise or a character they don't care about, they just attack us and call us pervs and terrible people and say, well, this content shouldn't have existed in the first place. And of course, a lot of people commented on this saying things like, they are clowns, censorship benefits absolutely no one. Apologists and contrarians deserve to have it happen to them. Too bad it's too late by the time they have an invested interest and they helped make it worse for everyone. People pointing out that, yes, this isn't even really censorship. They're just throwing around the word. Like I mentioned, this anime is actually pretty good, and I interpreted it in a very different way than this journalist did, and that's perfectly fine. You can leave it up to interpretation, just like what the developers and the creatives originally wanted. They just wanted people to be able to interpret it in any way that they saw fit. But of course, the journalists are now whining and complaining, saying they didn't do good enough, and they're walking back on queer representation, which is not happening. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.